In a small, sleepy town, Emily received a mysterious letter one evening. It was unsigned and contained only a single key and an address: 17 Blackwood Lane. The letter's message was cryptic: "Find the truth before it's too late." Emily, intrigued and unnerved, decided to investigate. The address led her to an old, dilapidated house at the edge of town, long abandoned and rumored to be haunted. As she approached, the key felt strangely heavy in her pocket. The house's door creaked open with little effort, revealing a dark, musty interior. Emily's flashlight flickered as she moved through the rooms, her footsteps echoing in the emptiness. The house was filled with dust-covered furniture and cobwebs, its silence broken only by the occasional scurrying of a mouse. In the living room, Emily found an old chest with a rusty lock. She hesitated but then took out the key, which fit perfectly. The lock clicked open, revealing an assortment of old photographs and letters. As she sifted through them, she noticed one photograph in particular: a family portrait of a smiling couple and their young daughter. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through the room, extinguishing her flashlight. The temperature dropped, and Emily felt a presence behind her. Turning quickly, she saw nothing but darkness. Unease settled in her chest as she reached for her phone's flashlight. As she illuminated the photograph, she noticed something disturbing. The girl in the photo had an eerily familiar face, one that resembled her own. A chill ran down her spine. She realized that the truth she was searching for might be closer than she thought. Emily's heart raced as she took a closer look at the photograph. The resemblance was uncanny, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She decided to continue her search for answers. In the back of the chest, Emily found a small, leather-bound diary. The diary was old, its cover cracked and worn. The pages were filled with handwritten entries detailing the life of a woman named Margaret, who had lived in the house decades ago. The entries spoke of a loving family, but as Emily read further, the tone shifted to one of increasing paranoia and fear. Margaret wrote about strange noises at night and the feeling of being watched. The final entries described a terrifying event. Margaret believed someone was trying to harm her family, but she never mentioned who. As Emily read, she heard a soft thud from upstairs. Her flashlight flickered again, casting unsettling shadows on the walls. She hesitated, then climbed the creaky stairs to investigate. The hallway was lined with old, dusty paintings, their eyes seeming to follow her every move. At the end of the hallway, Emily found a door slightly ajar. She pushed it open, revealing a dark bedroom. In the corner, an old rocking chair moved back and forth on its own, though there was no visible source of movement. Emily's breath quickened, and she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The room contained a small closet. Inside, Emily discovered a hidden compartment behind a loose wall panel. Inside was a collection of old, tarnished jewelry and a final note in Margaret's handwriting: "The truth lies beneath." Emily's fear turned to confusion as she realized the note might be pointing her to yet another hidden secret. Her pulse raced as she prepared to uncover what lay beneath the house. Feeling the weight of Margaret's unresolved fears, Emily's hands trembled as she tucked the note into her pocket. She took a deep breath and began to search the room for clues. The note's message, "The truth lies beneath," led her to suspect that there was something hidden in the house's basement. Descending the stairs to the basement, Emily noticed that the air grew colder and the darkness seemed thicker. The basement was cluttered with old furniture and boxes, but there was a faint, musty smell of earth. The space was illuminated only by her shaky flashlight. She started moving boxes and old trunks, trying to find anything unusual. After some searching, she discovered a trapdoor partially hidden under a pile of old newspapers. The trapdoor was heavy and covered in dust, but it looked like it hadn't been opened in decades. With great effort, Emily pried the trapdoor open. A wooden ladder led down into darkness. She hesitated, her fear escalating, but curiosity pushed her forward. She descended into the pitch-black space below. The basement revealed a small underground room, its walls lined with shelves holding old books and strange artifacts. In the center of the room was a stone altar, and on it lay a dusty, ancient book bound in leather. The book was adorned with symbols that matched those from Margaret's diary. As Emily reached for the book, She heard the sound of footsteps behind her. She turned quickly, but the room was empty. The footsteps grew louder, and the temperature in the room dropped even further. A whispering voice seemed to emanate from the walls, speaking in a language Emily didn't understand. Her flashlight flickered, and the shadows around her seemed to come alive. Emily's heart pounded as she grabbed the book and turned to leave. The whispers grew louder, almost deafening, and she felt a cold, ghostly hand brush against her shoulder. She climbed back up the ladder, her mind racing. The book was the key to understanding Margaret's fears and the house's dark history. As she emerged into the main floor, she knew she had to uncover the full truth before whatever was haunting the house claimed her as well. Back in the living room, Emily sat down with the ancient book. The whispers from the basement had faded, but her fear remained. She opened the book, and the pages were filled with detailed accounts of dark rituals and incantations. The book revealed that Margaret had been involved in occult practices, trying to protect her family from a malevolent entity she had unwittingly summoned. The entity had become more powerful over time, feeding on fear and sorrow. Margaret's writings described how the entity could be banished if the truth about its origins was revealed. As Emily read further, she discovered a ritual designed to reveal the entity's true form. She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized that the ritual required a sacrifice, a personal connection to the entity. The resemblance in the photograph suddenly made sense. Emily was connected to Margaret's family. Desperation gripped Emily as she prepared to perform the ritual described in the book. She followed the instructions carefully, lighting candles and chanting the incantations. The house seemed to come alive with dark energy, the whispers growing louder and more insistent. As the ritual reached its climax, the shadows in the room coalesced into a dark, formless entity. It hovered before her, its presence overwhelming. Emily faced the entity with trembling resolve, using the final part of the ritual to reveal its true form. The entity, now visible, was a wraith-like figure, its eyes hollow and filled with anguish. It spoke in a voice that echoed through the house, revealing that it was a tormented soul, bound to the house by Margaret's failed attempt to banish it. Emily's connection to the family had inadvertently made her a key to freeing it. With a final, desperate effort, Emily completed the ritual. The entity let out a final, anguished wail before dissipating into the air. The house fell silent, the oppressive darkness lifting. Emily emerged from the house, the early morning light bringing a sense of relief. The truth had been uncovered, and the malevolent presence had been banished. As she walked away from the house, she knew she had faced a darkness that few would ever understand. The sun was rising as Emily left the house, but the events of the night weighed heavily on her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that something still lingered. The whispers had stopped, but an eerie silence filled the air, almost as if the forest was holding its breath. Emily decided to visit the local library to research more about Margaret and the house at 17 Blackwood Lane. The librarian, Mrs. Haverford, was an elderly woman with a wealth of knowledge about the town's history. When Emily mentioned Margaret's name, Mrs. Haverford's eyes widened with recognition and concern. Margaret Blackwood, she said slowly, was known for her fascination with the occult. After her daughter went missing, she became obsessed with finding her. Some say she lost her mind. There are rumors that she tried to summon spirits for answers, but she ended up calling something far darker. Emily's heart sank. The missing daughter, could she be the girl in the photograph? And what happened to her? Mrs. Haverford continued. Margaret disappeared shortly after, and the house has been abandoned ever since. People avoid it, saying it's cursed. Determined to find closure, Emily asked if there were any records or documents related to Margaret and her daughter. Mrs. Haverford led her to the archives, where Emily spent hours combing through old newspapers and town records. She found an article detailing the disappearance of Margaret's daughter, Lily. The article mentioned a massive search but no leads. Then she found something unexpected. A police report about a mysterious fire at the Blackwood house a week after Margaret's disappearance. The cause was never determined, but the report hinted at foul play, suggesting Margaret might have been involved in dark rituals before her death. The discovery of the fire and the dark rituals painted a more sinister picture. Emily realized she needed to return to the house to uncover more clues. Armed with the knowledge from the library, she felt a renewed determination, despite the lingering fear. That evening, as the sun set, Emily once again approached the house. The structure seemed more menacing than before, but she steeled herself and stepped inside. The oppressive atmosphere returned, the air thick with a sense of unfinished business. In the basement, Emily carefully examined the room where she had found the book. She noticed symbols etched into the stone altar, matching those in the ancient book. Using her phone's camera, she took pictures, hoping to analyze them later. As she prepared to leave, she heard a faint sound, a child's laughter. It was coming from the corner of the basement. Her heart pounded as she moved towards the sound, finding a small hidden door she hadn't noticed before. It was barely big enough for a child to crawl through. Opening the door, Emily discovered a small, hidden room. Inside, she found old toys and a child's drawings scattered across the floor. The drawings depicted a happy family, but one in particular caught her eye. It showed a dark, shadowy figure standing near the family, its presence menacing. In the corner of the room was a small, dusty teddy bear. Emily picked it up, feeling a strange connection to the past. As she turned to leave, she heard the child's laughter again, closer this time. She spun around, but the room was empty. Emily realized that the laughter was not a threat, but a call for help. Lily's spirit was still trapped in the house, bound by the same dark force Margaret had summoned. Emily knew she had to find a way to free her. Determined to free Lily, Emily revisited the grimoire and the photos she took of the symbols. She researched tirelessly, cross-referencing the symbols with various sources on ancient rituals and spirit bindings. She discovered that to release a trapped spirit, she would need to perform a cleansing ritual involving personal items of the spirit and symbols drawn in specific patterns. Emily gathered the items she had found in Lily's hidden room, the drawings, the teddy bear, and a locket she discovered under a loose floorboard. As night fell, she returned to the house one final time, her resolve stronger than ever. In the basement, she arranged the items on the stone altar and drew the necessary symbols around it, following the instructions meticulously. The air grew colder, and the oppressive feeling intensified. As she began the ritual, she chanted the incantations, her voice steady despite her fear. The shadows in the room began to shift and swirl, coalescing into the dark figure from the drawings. It loomed over her, but Emily continued the ritual, refusing to be intimidated. The room shook, and a wail of anguish filled the air as the dark entity tried to resist. With a final, determined chant, Emily completed the ritual. The dark figure shrieked and dissolved into mist, and the oppressive feeling lifted. The room grew warmer, and a soft, golden light filled the space. In that light, Emily saw a young girl standing before her. Lily's spirit smiled at her, a look of peace and gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered before fading away, the laughter echoing one last time. But now it was joyful and free. The house, once filled with darkness and dread, felt lighter. Emily left the basement, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and relief. She had freed Lily and banished the malevolent entity that had haunted the Blackwood family for generations. The following day, Emily returned to the library to share her findings with Mrs. Haverford. The librarian listened with rapt attention, her eyes wide with amazement and respect. "You've done something incredible," she said. "The town owes you a debt of gratitude." News of Emily's bravery spread through Ravenswood, and the house at 17 Blackwood Lane became a place of reflection rather than fear. The townspeople began to care for the property, turning it into a memorial for Lily and Margaret, a reminder of the importance of facing one's fears and the power of uncovering the truth. Emily, though forever changed by her experience, felt a sense of closure. The whispers that once haunted her dreams were gone, replaced by the knowledge that she had made a difference. The key she had received, now a symbol of her journey, hung on a chain around her neck. She continued to explore and document the supernatural, but with a new understanding and respect for the unknown. Ravenswood had many secrets, but Emily knew she was ready to face whatever mysteries lay ahead, armed with the courage and wisdom she had gained. And so, the story of the Whispering Woods and the haunting of 17 Blackwood Lane became a legend, a tale of bravery, discovery, and the enduring power of truth.